Welcome back, everybody. Ellis Cannon. Enjoyed a couple of segments there with Dr. Singh. That was fun. That was informative. And obviously, there's a lot to look forward to, both in the military and civilian, as we look at the future. Speaking of the future, we all hope to have a future with somebody, and that means we need to talk to this woman next. Natalie Bencivenga is with us, a dating and relationship expert. I recently saw her on Fox News, so that makes her and I Fox News alums, and we're looking forward to talking to her about her career. She's from Pittsburgh, University of Pittsburgh graduate, todaymag.com. You'll be able to see that through the course of her interview. How are you, Natalie?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. I enjoyed talking to your mom.
Oh, she enjoyed talking to you.
Yeah, she was so nice. And I said when I was getting a lot of my different careers started, my mom has always been there to support me. When I saw your mom, she looks just like you. I was like, that's great, man. That's really neat to see that she's with you tonight.
I'm very lucky in that way.
Well, let's talk about some things. First and foremost, how did you come up with this career?
Well, it didn't start out this way. I actually went to school at Pitt. I double majored in biology and philosophy, and I got accepted into medical school. And the summer before I was supposed to go into medical school, I did a lot of soul searching and realized that I just wasn't ready to commit to this, and I knew I had a lot of creative energy. So I decided to start traveling. And I went to New York, and I met some wonderful people, and one of them was Joe Venice. And he and I sort of brainstormed and came up with this concept of a magazine that was for any and all people that are in a relationship or that just believe in the power of love and how it brings us all together and unifies us.
Well, I did see your website. I did spend some time on it.
Oh,
it was great, and I learned a lot. As a matter of fact, I also printed out, as you could tell, a bunch of stories related to that. So we'll get to that maybe in the next segment. But how does one become an expert in dating and relationships outside their own experiences?
I think you have to be an observer of the world, and I consider myself that person. I'm always the person that everyone comes to talk about their problems and about their issues, and I think when you have a sort of open mind and a non-judgmental heart, people will come to you and you sort of end up in that position of authority, and I became comfortable in that position. And when I combined that sort of with my background in science and in philosophy, I was able to sort of have, I think, a unique perspective on the idea of relationships and love, and it just sort of snowballed from there, and it's become really exciting.
Almost like a quasi-medical health and mental aspect altogether.
Yes, yes, absolutely.
All right, now, that having been said, as you started this, did you find people saying, what are you doing? I mean, you mentioned a lot of people seemingly come to you for advice, but I suspect when you try to make a business out of it, that's a totally different challenge.
Absolutely. I have a very supportive family, first of all, and they've always been behind me in everything that I do, and I think that is sort of the key to pursuing your dreams, is understanding that this is my life, I'm in charge of it, and I'm going to do what makes me happy, and this is making me happy.
And you're here in Pittsburgh. You obviously use Pittsburgh people as part of your enterprise.
Oh, absolutely. I have lots of writers from Pittsburgh, and I love having the perspective of Pittsburgh because it's not New York, it's not LA. I think it's a real town that has real people in it and real stories, and I just love that. What
are the biggest challenges that you're hearing or feeling when you talk to people, and how do they drop you emails? Do they stop at the front door and say, I've got a dating problem? I mean, talk a little bit about how they interact with you. They
definitely email me, and anyone can email me at nat@todaymag.com. And people, my friends, a lot of times call me. Their friends will call me, but I get a lot of texting, I get a lot of tweeting. So any and all forms of communication, people send me
I would imagine the technology growth and so forth has been of great value to you, certainly as assisted.
Oh, it's reached my, my pool of people all over the world. I mean, I've gotten questions from people halfway around the world. So it's really amazing because I think this is one topic that really does bring us all together. And I think in times of sort of economic crises and political crises, I think the one thing that we can always focus on is what unifies us, and love is that.
All right, now, that having been said, you mentioned about being enterprising and so forth, and I mentioned in my open Jerry Bryn, 63, who has started Date My Single Kid online, and she gets her 31-year-old son dates. Now, he's had over 30 dates. Now, this strikes me as the use of technology is a little ridiculous. I mean, a couple of times you say your mom lines you up with somebody, that's one thing. But, I mean, you're making a career out of it. The guy's a loafer. They got to kick him the heck out of the house, don't they?
I would think so. I think at that age, I think you need to cut the cord, so to speak. Yeah, I think he needs to figure out how he can get dates on his own.
His mother's getting him girlfriends.
But are they lasting?
Well, it doesn't seem that way. He's up over 30.
Well, then that's not really working for him, is it? I think maybe he needs to try a different approach.
Yeah,
like going out into the real world.
Yeah, maybe he ought to make
talking one-on-one.
Yeah, right, and doing it himself.
Exactly.
There's a lot of things that you'll have advice for us as we get to the next segment, so we'll talk a little bit about that, but I had to throw that woman into it because I thought it was the perfect segue and certainly something that was a little bit unusual. What, as you look forward, there's obviously going to be an opportunity for you to grow this, and I'd like to talk to you about that when we come back. And then some of those topics that you have that you've had to encounter, and we'll talk about that and bring it up, including, are you a loveaholic? I hope not. That's just me. I'm sorry. We'll talk about it when we come back. She's Natalie. I'm Ellis, and you're watching Talk on PCNC. Dating and relationship expert Natalie Bencivenga is on set. I'm Ellis Cannon. Welcome back. A little bit later, we're going to be joined by Bryn Marie. She's a rising country western performer, so we'll get to her a little bit later. We said hello to her, and she's ready to go. Quickly, a couple of different ideas. I do want to get to the topics that you have written about or had written for you on your website, but that there are two thoughts. One, hot dates. Where are great dates to go, and how important is it to have date night?
I think date night is extremely important, especially when you're in a relationship for a while. People get into sort of these routines, and date night sort of takes a back seat to the kids and the work and the schedules and everything else. And without the
okay. I'm sorry. That would
Is that you?
Well, I mean, you know, look, you're married
Tiff.
very happily for 25 years in September.
Well, that's beautiful.
It is beautiful, and you'd like to believe that
I bet you your wife would probably like to go out on a date.
Yes, once in a while. But she's named the warden, so she makes the call. But is there something wrong with giving a little pet nickname like that? I mean, the warden.
The warden?
Well, I mean, it's a nice warden. I mean,
it's a nice warden.
Yeah, I mean, she has to make sure.
She lays down the law.
She does. She's got 3 boys.
Well, that's why you're happily married.
That's right.
Exactly.
That's okay. Then I'm doing the right thing.
Yeah,
you go home now.
She's the queen bee.
That's okay. Okay, so yeah, date nights are important. You need to get away. You need to break the routine.
Absolutely, and there's so many things to do in Pittsburgh. I think people think this is a small city. You know, what could I do here? There's a million things to do in the city. We have a lot of cultural centers. Museums, middle of the day dates. That's always unexpected and wonderful thing to do. You know, you could do the traditional movie and dinner, or do something different. You know, go to one of our beautiful parks, put a blanket out, bring some food, have a picnic. You don't have to spend a lot of money to have a good time with each other.
I'm not a romant, which is a word I came up with years ago, but I have always found that if you do that surprise, let's go to lunch on a Tuesday when you don't expect it, it seems to help a lot.
Absolutely, and I think when you're in marriage and you have kids and you're doing that sort of thing, you know what else is very romantic is just coming home to maybe the house being cleaned and she didn't have to do it, or the dishes are done, or little things like that. Can
3 loads of laundry in a day, or maybe like all those things that I do, right? See, right. I mean, these are all things that you have to do. You have to do stuff different.
You have to, yeah, you have to change it up. And this city, there's so many vibrant, wonderful things to do in the city. You really have to take advantage of them. We have all these wonderful sports teams, but we have a lot of great bars and restaurants and events happening, great bands that come into the city. There's so much to do. You really have to just take advantage of it.
Okay, now how about this? We'll go through these about 20, 30 seconds apiece. Are you a loveaholic? Now let's go. Well, we don't need loveaholics. What's that all about?
I think a loveaholic is someone who has to be in love in order for a relationship to be important, and they think that if they're not in love by the second or third date, that there's something wrong with him or wrong with her, and they don't understand that not every relationship has to take the same course, and you can learn things from one another no matter where the relationship ends up.
Okay, that's a dead ender, because he only sees himself or herself as being satisfied based on that as opposed to themselves.
Absolutely. They're trying to project their happiness onto other people, but they themselves aren't really happy. So it's sort of a mask.
Okay, yeah, a lot of masks. How about this? Breaking up is hard to do. How do you have a drama-free ending?
It has to be short and simple. Keep it short and simple.
Okay, give me an example.
If you want to break up, okay, the whole drama of let's take a break, let's draw this out, and then I'm cheating because I'm unhappy, and I'm not telling you how I really feel about you. I really hate your guts, but I'm going to pretend to be in this relationship because bad relationship's better than no relationship.
Right.
That's no way to live.
Right.
Life is too short.
Right.
You have to be happy.
And I've seen people through the years that are they're ready to sell out. They're done. But then what they do is the next thing you know, they're going to go study. They think that's going to help them out. Then when that starts to go sideways, they're going to get engaged. Then they're going to get married. Then they're going to have kids. They keep doing this and they end up unhappy.
They end up miserable because what ends up happening is they forget to love the most important person, which is themselves.
Right.
And I think people feel that if they love themselves, they're being selfish, but there's a difference between selfish and self-interested.
Okay.
And you have to be self-interested, love yourself, then you can love other people.
And in Friends with Benefits, the arts of pursuing a lover. Who does that anymore? I mean, seriously, the way people hook up and everything, I mean, doesn't it make it worse sometimes to actually do it that way?
I think the whole Friends with Benefits thing it gets a little murky because you have to make sure you're on the same page, and you know, if you are in love with the guy or the girl and they're just looking for a good time and you've been strung along for what, 6 months, a year, and you know, that can really be upsetting. So you have to be on the same page, and if you're not, move on to the next one.
Stress is a real problem in relationships.
It's a major problem, and I think with everything happening in our culture right now, including the economic stresses, I think people are looking to love as sort of being a safe haven. But what they don't understand is if you bring that stress into your love life, you're only going to compound your problems. You're not going to solve anything. Okay,
here's the deal. This show replays at 2 a.m. and at 5 the following day. What I'm going to recommend is I call management and at 2 a.m., which is a safe haven, we come back and do it live because there's some topics here that are probably best served at 2 a.m. Is that all right? We'll do
the
that
after hours special.
Yeah, there we go.
That works for me.
All right, give us the website one more time.
todaymag.com. That's TWO, like the number 2. Today Mag.
Natalie, enjoyed it.
It was so nice to meet you. Absolutely.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thanks so
Natalie
much.
Bencivenga, and we covered a lot of ground there with relationships and more. All right, we're going to come back and we're talking some country music with a rising performer. She's from, I believe, Carmichael, Pennsylvania. We want to talk to her about her career, where it's headed. Bryn Marie, she's full of a lot of fun and success. We'll talk about that next. Keep it right here. You're watching PCNC.